Welcome to Andrew Talks with your host, Andrew.
Hello, and welcome back to another Andrew Talks. This is episode 14. Today's guest is Walter, a personalization and analytics specialist and recognized Adobe Analytics Champion for 2025-2026. Walter brings over a decade of experience in digital behavior analytics and digital marketing, helping organizations turn customer data into meaningful insights that fuel smarter campaigns and more personalized digital experiences. Currently at Investec, he focuses on connecting customer touchpoints to create seamless data-driven journeys, blending analytics, strategy, and creativity to design digital experiences that not only perform but truly resonate. It is definitely an out-of-the-world experience. His expertise spans digital analytics, customer insights, campaign optimization, and deep capability across the Adobe Experience platform, including analytics, customer journey analytics, and target. He describes himself as a creative at heart, passionate about storytelling through data and shaping digital strategies that inspire. Additionally, we used to work together at Investec in the exact same team, which means I have a lot of experience working with this fine gentleman. And I guarantee you, you can't help but just have a smile when you talk to him because he just resonates that happiness. While this is not sponsored by Adobe, it is not affiliated with Adobe in any way. I was super excited to get Walter on to introduce him to the wider audience while understanding more about the Adobe Analytics Champion program from his own perspective. I'm excited to dive into his journey, his craft, and his perspective on Adobe Analytics and the wider digital analytics program. Walter, welcome to the podcast.
Hey Andrew, how you doing? Long time. Thank you so much for having me. It's been it's been a while, my friend. It's been a while. Everybody, all those things that Andrew was saying, I learned it from the goat. Andrew is the goat in this space.
See, you may call me the GOAT, but for you, I call you the champion.
You had me there. You had me there. You had me there. But yeah, it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to join you on your podcast.
Yeah, it's been one of those like you've been on a name that I want to get on, but due to the distance, it's always fun. Like it's already dark here. I don't know if it's dark down in South Africa right now, but there is a 2-hour difference, so it is
Yeah, yeah,
2 hours
yeah,
later for you.
yeah. It's quite late. It's quite late. But yeah, I mean, we used to work together. We used to, juggle this time zone thing quite well. And in fact, it always felt like you were very, very close. But yeah, yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Oh man, we worked very closely and we got to know each other at a very personal level whenever I was at Investec, and that's something that I always really enjoyed because we spent more time together than we probably did with our own respective friends and family.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like it's been a long time. It's been a long time. But yeah, glad to be on your podcast, man.
Yep. And just before we move on, because like I said, there's going to be a lot about getting to know you, how you got into digital analytics, and your experience on becoming a Adobe Analytics champion. Which I mean, I remember just seeing that come out. I was like, man, I'm so proud of you, Walter. That's so amazing. Because I'll admit, I did register to become a champion. You won.
No, 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 no. It's been a ride. It's been a ride. It's been a good ride. A good ride. A lot of learnings. A lot of. But I'll tell you all about it. I'll tell you all about it, and as we chat.
Amazing. And this will be a true conversation between two friends at this point. But let's go ahead and get started. And how did you get into digital analytics? Because I always enjoy asking this question because nobody normally goes to school to become a digital analyst, especially not those at those who started it 2 decades ago. So,
No, well, um, actually, is that's a very good question because it's one of those questions that when people sort of ask you, like, how did you get into this space? What did you study? Like, what, 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 what brought you into this space? I always like, wow, the journey has been Um, it actually started. There was an agency back in the days. It was actually one of my first jobs, and I remember them presenting this data around how people were engaging with websites. It was a days of hits and how many hits we were getting on our website. So those types of words. And I remember like, wow, I gotta get into that space. I gotta get into that space. At the time, funny enough, I was more into campaign management. So like sending emails, SMSs at the time. I was still studying, and I remember seeing this other guy. Um, he was telling me about all this data, client data, digital engagement data that you could collect, where the industry is going. It's like I gotta get into that space. That's basically how it started, and then I went into agencies. I spent some time with the WPP group here in South Africa. Um, and then the knowledge just started to sort of gain and the interest within the industry. Yeah, and then rest rest is history, like they always say.
I will always remember one of the godfathers of digital analytics, Jim Stern. If I remember correctly, he mentioned that he went to university to study mushrooms.
Wow, wow,
And
wow.
then he goes into setting in the framework for digital analytics for the future.
Like it's amazing when you think, and I always say that digital analytics because is an interesting subject, especially if you've followed it over the years, where it comes from, the actual origins, like you said. Um, the word hits, how many hits, how many clicks, and etc. Like it was sort of like a calling, right? Like when people are like, I've got this data and I can tell you how many times people are engaging with your site and etc. So you just become very inquisitive about it.
I'm saying agree. So, can you share a defining moment that sparked your deep involvement with Adobe Analytics? Because let's be honest, Google Analytics is the one that most people get involved with. But you and I, we did specialize in Adobe Analytics originally. So how did you get into it?
So Adobe Analytics came along at the time. I was consulting for Ford here in South Africa, and they were looking for sort of a specialist who could understand how to use and implement this Adobe Analytics tool. So they'd procured it from a global level, and it was literally the deep end. It was like you said, Adobe Analytics and Google come from two separate worlds. The concept is the same now when you look at it, but those days when we were it was the days of Omniture. And then we had to figure out how to use this thing. The documentation was poor. You couldn't find really much information on these things, and the skill set within our country, specifically South Africa, was very limited. So it was more like having to sweat out the tool, because the business at the time sort of was expecting this tool to produce wonders, like speak this great insights about their clients. And basically, I remember the words that we used to use at Ford. We need to use these insights to move metal, and it it was a tough one. So I had to sort of upskill in that space, spend a lot of time reading, understanding, figuring out, and boy oh boy, did we not make quite a number of mistakes here. But I mean, that comes with the space. You sort of grow, you sort of learn, test and learn, see how to do things, and yeah, um, that's basically where my Adobe journey sort of started in the days of Omniture. So by the time they sort of got bought out, I really sort of now understood how to use the tool.
That sounds very similar to a lot of the people that I've talked with where You just get thrown in the deep end, like, we need a specialist, train up, become a specialist.
And there's no spec for this thing, right? There's no spec. You just take it, and like I said in the beginning, that you have to have a passion for it. Without the passion, geez, I think I would have given up. Because I remember we were literally doing redoing a whole site from scratch, and we had to implement this analytics. We had to test and QA manually. Everything was it was painful. It was painful. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there was a four of us who were doing this thing.
Wow, that's actually impressive that there was 4 at the very beginning that built up to it. But, I mean, I remember I learned it all just like you. I learned it because I needed to. There was no training that I went for on it. And finally, when Sky formally brought in Adobe Analytics or Omniture at the time to be their digital analytics of choice, they did bring a trainer in to give that training. And I said, "You know what? I know that you guys look at me as an expert, but I wouldn't mind going there. I may learn a few things that I didn't know." And I quickly learned that the trainer doesn't know anything more than what's in the book. So if you tried to ask any edge cases, it was like, "I don't know, it's not in the book."
I'll get back to you.
No, they never got back, that's the thing. They just said, "It's not in the book."
Wow, wow, wow. No, no. The tour has come a long way. It's come a very long way. Like if you think about where it was 10 years ago, like geez, wow, wow. Now there's documentation everywhere. I mean, the specialists are sort of coming out, and it's easier for an analyst to onboard on the tool. It's brilliant to watch.
Well, let's dive 2 things on that one before we move on to the next slide. I have 2 questions I have to ask. 1, did you ever in your career get asked, "Can you tell me the difference between Omniture, Site Catalyst, and Adobe Analytics?"
That came almost it came almost every day. I think especially after the whole Omniture Adobe agreement, um, we used to get asked that a lot of times. A lot of times, and you have to explain that actually they got bought out. This is how the tool has migrated from its beginning. And yeah, so yeah, the questions did come along.
Yep. Now the second one, you mentioned there's a lot of documentation from Adobe now on the tool. But the question is, do you find that documentation is sufficient? Is it accurate enough to actually help you in your implementation with it? Or do you sometimes have to write to them and say, actually, you know what, you may want to go fix this. This isn't correct.
Funny you asked that question in terms of the documentation itself with the tool. What what I've discovered or my experience with implementing this software is um, the the documentation is very the technology is very good. It's world class. It's right up there. I mean, it's Adobe. Um, but how people implement it and how people use it is very different across different organizations. So um, again, it's now that I've sort of am exposed to the actual back ends and seeing how the business operates, I kind of understand around why there's so many questions where individuals are trying to implement, and some of the questions are not answered as fast as possible, mainly because of the fact that it's so versatile that you can work with it in so many ways. How do you mold it into your own company's technology stack is different. So you might find the way people implement uh, or implement analytics in one organization is completely different for the second organization, and how it's if I have challenges on one, I might not, that challenge might be so unique that to get actual assistance on it becomes very tough for them as well. But yeah, to answer your question, it is tough. It is tough, mainly because of the fact that it's so broad. But it's also when you understand it, becomes is such a good tool. It's such a very good tool.
I definitely think Adobe Analytics is a great tool. it has its limitations, but that's every tool. So it's just a matter of which one that you prefer using the most.
Yes, yes, no, 100%.
Perfect. So, what was the biggest technical challenge you tackled using Adobe Analytics, and how did you solve it?
Ooh, okay. Okay, biggest technical challenge. In fact, this came it came on last year. I think it was last year, or 2 years ago. I think as an organization, I think what some of the challenges that we experienced, even both me and yourself, was getting people to use the tool and actually trust the data that was coming out of Adobe Analytics. So it was always difficult to sell the actual tool or to sell the insights coming out of there. In fact, we were talking about how data itself has sort of shifted over the last 2, 3 years. But going back to those years, um, what was actually difficult was getting people to use the tool. So we set out on this massive project that uh, we wanted to redo all our analytics and get our data in a standardized way on different platforms, on different applications to be the same. On paper, it sounds like you can do it simple, but boy oh boy, it is a nightmare. And we operate across different countries, regions, different applications and systems. So getting those teams, first of all, to consume and implement analytics consistently in a method that also doesn't require a lot of developer expertise and coordinating all those things, setting up the platform from itself, making it uh, work in synergy. I think that was definitely the biggest challenge that I've had with Adobe Analytics. Funny enough, we did successfully do it. We got the data working, got it re-implemented, redone, and then obviously having to make sure that Adobe does, because I think one of the biggest challenges that you have with technology stacks is that they end up taking a lot of responsibilities that shouldn't be sitting in that specific technology stack. So, for example, you have launch and then you try and make things work within launch, even if it's not the best suited for it. Having to go through that trial and error, making sure that you are selecting the right things that you need when you're setting up your platform. Um, and honestly, there's no manual out there that will tell you how to do this. You have to just get your hands dirty, read up on the tool, understand what are the function, the shortfalls of it, what are the biggest upsells for it, and you take it from there. And we're still learning. We're still in that process of I think where we are now is what do we do with this data that we've standardized, which is another different complex set of problems or challenges by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you could bring the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink it. It's that one of those things where you have everything there. Now it's time to do something with it. It's like just
Yes.
can't just stare at it and go, "Ooh, so pretty."
So pretty, so pretty. I remember when we finished this whole migration, and I remember I was so angry at the time. I was so angry with Adobe, uh, because it took us about a year to plan this whole thing. Um, I think we had about 22 applications we had to redo analytics on. We had so it took us about a year, and then here they come selling CJA. Andrew, I was so angry. Oh, I was so angry. I was so angry. I couldn't understand it. But no, yeah. Like we were like, no, we're pushing on with Adobe Analytics. And yeah, in the end of the day, it worked out quite well.
Yeah, I mean, you got your CJA, AEP, Adobe Analytics. Which one do you want?
Which one do you want? Which one do you want? You pick what you want from this stack thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I will put it on this podcast, but I would love to pick your brain later and find out how long do you think Adobe Analytics will last before they're going to force people to move on to CGA or AEP or CGO or any of these other abbreviations that are coming out. Not going to put you on the hook on that one as the Adobe Analytics champion.
No. Funny. We can. I can give you a solid answer on that one. I think for everyone within the industry itself, there's a lot of speculation. But hearing it from the actual product owners from Adobe, I think it's not a hidden secret that they are going to keep analytics. It's a completely different, unique tool that they've invested in. These big changes, not changes, there's big upgrades coming in that will make analytics itself a standard product. Because CJ and analytics, yes, they give you insight, but analytics is unique in its own way, and say same is CJA. So if you were to ask me as a non-Adobe affiliate or a champion, I'll definitely say Adobe Analytics is here to stay. Well, maybe in the next 5, 10 years, you never know with these
Mm.
MCP servers where the industry is going and stuff.
No, that's interesting that because I literally made a podcast last year after the Adobe Analytics they came and did their conference here for the in London. It was just a 1-day mini event, so nothing like at the scale what you would have in America. But afterwards, I just walked away thinking, you know what? Adobe Analytics is dead because I stopped and thought about it. I was like, when was the last big upgrade for Adobe Analytics? And the last big one that I could come up with that actually did revolutionize it was the virtual report suites. But since then, every update I've seen come out so far is for our tools, except for Adobe Analytics.
No, true. No, just watch out for in the next couple of months. Very big, impressive changes. I think even myself, I was like, wow, I didn't see that coming. I think a lot of Adobe users, like you said, the big time um users on the tool will be very impressed. I think it's stuff that we've been crying about. It's stuff that the industry needs. It's fresh, it's refreshing. So yeah, but keen to see how people receive it.
Well, I think shortly after it comes out, I may need you to come back on to say on the podcast, go, yep, that's what I was talking about. That's what I was hissing at. Because
Yeah, there's really.
yeah, the last big moment like that was Analysis Workspace. Like I got to see that before anyone else because I was part of the partner program. And I just remember us looking over at Ben and going, tell us, this is running a test server. This isn't the actual speed because it was so impressive. We go from like the H code, like
Yeah.
waiting to Analysis Workspace. Like, bam, it's almost instantaneous at times.
Yeah. No, 100%, 100%. I mean, it's interesting. It's a very interesting space where they're positioning themselves, and I think for me, it's things that we've been crying about, and I think with the role of data itself and how you use that behavioral data, they've sort of are answering that question. I think yeah, it depends how you look at it, but I think it's going to be a big game changer for them.
Amazing. Yeah. Now, before we go, I have to at least just tell you my biggest technical challenge because it's one I've never actually told you about. But
Okay.
there was a website that I was working on where they actually had 2 order confirmation pages. But to make it more fun, a person could actually see both of them in the exact same journey for the exact same order.
Wow.
So I needed to come up with a solution where I could say, well, they placed an order, but then they did this additional thing. So now they've updated the order without actually corrupting the order event because one person can land on just the original order, or they could go to this new one and then go to this other one. And I
Wow,
had to come
wow.
up with a way where I could treat them both as an order. But keep in mind, those who did see that new order, not always going to go to that other order. So it's not like you
Yeah.
only have one order, but you have to have them in two different places, and you had to make it work.
Wow, 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 wow. I know, knowing Andrew and having worked with you, definitely, I'm sure you found like you made it work. Like wow, you're creator, I must say, like your
Yeah,
in terms of your implementation skills, like geez, man, Andrew, you're right up there. You are right up there, like right up there.
thanks. But I'll go more detail with you later, like how I achieved that one because it was one of those things. Like it's one of the things I don't think even they really understood what they were doing there when they come up with the solution. Because yes, it did make things a lot better and gave a lot more ability to the customer. But then you have all these marking pixels that you have to make sure that you're not sending duplicate order events to. And then you have some of these obligations that you have to make sure that you're maintaining, and you don't want to inflate your order event.
Yes.
But then again, if you say, well, here's where they did it, because it's all online. It's not like you could just use transaction ID and then push it in later because it was happening offline. No, it was all online in that exact same session.
Wow, wow, no, 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 wow. Yeah, like implementation can sometimes give you headaches, big, big headaches.
Big headaches, but you know what? You feel so proud by
When you're
like
done
it
with
worked.
it.
It's your baby.
No, true, 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 true.
Yep. Amazing. So now we have to go into it. What motivated you to apply to the Adobe Analytics Champion program, and what made your application stand out from the rest? Okay, what made it stand out from me?
Okay, okay, okay. In fact, it was more of a I remember seeing the email coming through, and I was like, oh, let me give this thing a try. So I think I just told the story as it was. In fact, what motivated me was the amount of effort we had done or gone through in the last year planning this whole thing. And we were not just implementing analytics, we were implementing Adobe Target as well. And we were integrating AEM at the time, AEM and Target and Adobe Analytics all to work in a synchronized way. And I think the challenge was um, the fact that we didn't we're not I won't say not allowed. We didn't go through the route of the web SDKs and the app SDKs. That was a challenge that were given by the architects because they felt like their solution had to be easily switchable. If we wanted to cut Adobe at any stage, we should be able to plug in a Google or any other tracking tool. Um, so we came up with this very ingenious way on how to actually do it. Um, and we we yeah, when we were done with it, I was like, okay, let me. Then the email came through. I was like, maybe let me tell the story of how we've been able to do analytics and standardize our data and sell this thing at an exact level where even any individual can understand how Adobe works. Um, that was a big motivating factor around the story that we had with Gordon. So I wanted the message to sort of go out and tell the story a bit better because I felt like a lot of companies, individuals were going through a similar journey where they are trying to make this behavioral data more palatable within the organizations, but they're always struggling. So how could you tell it? And there was no better way to do it than being part of a champion program within your organization or within Adobe where you could actually tell the story. So I think for me, that was one of the biggest selling point that I went in with, and the passion behind the actual product, the actual insights that we were getting from it. So I think yeah, and a bit of luck because I believe that year or this past year, the number of applicants that were there were quite. There was quite a lot. There was quite a lot, and yeah, so I don't know what made it stick out.
I think that's just it. It was the story. It was the story that you were able to tell about this entire journey. And my application was just like, "Why should you be the Adobe Analytics Champion?" "I'm Andrew." And then when I got the A rejection, I was like, "But I'm Andrew."
Nah, nah, nah. And it's always about the story, right? And I remember,
Mhm.
um, like literally, right? Because I think it took me about 3 days to actually do the application form, answer all those questions because I had to make sure that you're writing and you're telling the story as authentic as it was, because that's part of the requirement. So I wrote this thing and I was like, hey, good luck. I didn't even pay attention to it. And then uh, one I think it was a Friday, Thursday, I just see this email. I'm like, what? Yeah, yeah. I still remember the feeling. It was so good.
And there's the other thing. You took 3 days to write it out, polish it, and make it a perfect story. Mine
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
I wrote for an hour. That's enough.
No, 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 definitely, definitely.
Yep. Amazing. Well, continuing on about the champions, what exactly do you do as an Adobe Analytics champion, and how does this differ from what you normally do?
Hmm. So very tricky one. Um, the champion program actually, it's a program. I think it's a 1 year program. I'll give detail of what it entails. I think in the words of the program manager, he likes to give he likes to say that it needs to work for you as an individual. What do you want to get out of it? So you number one, when you apply for the champion program, you need to have um specific goals that you're trying to achieve. So for example, if you're not passionate about analytics, it's not for you. You're not going to find it useful. If you're not passionate about what you do within the organization, because, for example, like working in technology, there's always someone who is knocking on the door and trying to disrupt the current eco state. So you have to really know what the product is about, so that when we are facing these challenges of using this tool, um, and maybe budgets are going down, people want to cut down on digital behavior, they feel like Adobe is too expensive, and etc. You need to be able to answer those questions. So one of the reasons was I didn't have a lot of exposure in terms of what was going on within Adobe themselves. So yes, you do get to spend time with the sales guys, and it's usually very salesy and stuff. What I really wanted to be part of was a broader community that was able to give me insight around how they're using the tool and how they're advancing. What are the challenges that they're experiencing, and how do we go around them as this pro Adobe people? So it gave me a lot of that. It gives you a lot of that. So whether you're constantly learning, you're constantly learning about what's coming, how to tackle different issues, and how to actually get the best out of the tool. And that knowledge is not available, um, readily available on the internet or on conferences that you go to. It's through collaboration with different people across the world. So you get to see or engage with people that you wouldn't like-minded people that you wouldn't really have that type of interaction on a normal day. So what do we normally do? What is different? It's very it's very much about learning and educating a lot of people. So whether it's within your own organization or within your own market, you're part of Adobe office hours. Those have the experience league. You're coaching people how to do this the tool. You're listening to the various challenges that people have. um uh like some of the things you are sort of, because you've got inside knowledge of what's coming, what's not coming, so you're able to to inform the market around the decisions of how best they move forward. So it's a very nice program if you're really passionate about analytics, not just from a inside perspective, but from an industry perspective, and what is right, what is wrong. So I think one of the biggest things that or eye openers that I had was sitting with the product managers and giving them feedback like, guys, we can't be doing this. And then they actually listened. And you're like, wow, they listened. And like, okay, noted. And you're like, wow, I see the change. This is happening. So it's a very, I would encourage anyone who's very passionate about Adobe to not Adobe, about analytics, to actually go in that program and apply, because you will meet special human beings there.
Amazing. I'm just looking at the next slide. I'm like, should I skip it because I don't want to get you in trouble? Because you kind of already hinted at it already. Is what's one insight you've gained from collaborating with Adobe product teams or participating in beta testing? Because I have a feeling it's going to be wait a couple months, you'll see.
Yeah, because most of the stuff is obviously signed in their NDAs that you have to sign, but no inside. The biggest insight is obviously that, like you said, Adobe is not going anywhere. Adobe Analytics, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of speculation around CJA. We're being forced to move into CJA. CJA is a completely different product. Analytics is sitting on its own. So I think for that, I think that's one insight that I can definitely share in terms of where Adobe Analytics is going, the features that are coming in. If because there was like you said, Andrew, in the beginning, it felt like Adobe wasn't making that much progress within the tool itself, and hence a lot of speculation that this might be dying. But geez, what's coming is quite good. It's really, really good. I'm more interested in how they position themselves. Um, like what is the future of an analyst, for example? With some of the things that are coming, are you still going to be able to build your own reports? What does it mean as an everyday person? So one of the things that we, for example, it's not really an Adobe thing that we're trying to drive um, within our organization is how people implement analytics. Uh, so that, I believe, is part of also part of their product roadmap, making it easier for people to implement this thing and actually use it. So yeah, beta testing, you get a lot of insight. In fact, been playing there quite a lot. And it's just more around what's coming. I think for me, that's where it's more interesting.
I just love it because last year I was definitely on the bandwagon that Adobe Analytics as a tool is on its last legs. But you're telling me it's more like Monty Python and Search of the Holy Grail, the guy going, I'm not dead yet.
I think they really came out fighting. Not fighting. They really came out. Yeah, fighting is the right word. Like it's really taken the product um, to new levels, which is the lines to exactly. I mean, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but if you look at if you are in the martech space, if you look at how people, your Google tech platforms, how they are evolving, so it's sort of in a similar pace. So you can judge and so sort of see what's coming in that space.
Well, like I said, as soon as it comes out, I'm gonna be reach out to you, go, okay, yep, I agree with you. Let's get on. We need to talk about this.
Nah, 100%, 100%.
Perfect. So What do you hope to gain and give while an Adobe Analytics Champion? And what are you looking forward to?
Mm, Okay, bit of a tricky one. Um, I think for me, it's I'll answer the give part first. Um, I think having gone through the space of being in this behavioral data space for a while, I think there was a lot of misconceptions around it, around its inconsistency, the difficult or the barriers to entry to getting it into specific way it was seen as insights that are at a transactional data level. That was always my biggest challenge is when you spoke about Adobe or you spoke about Google Analytics, organizations took it serious, but not so serious. Um, so what I really want to give within this champion program, of which I'm really trying to pull out, is how people reshaping that narrative within our organizations or within the industry of how powerful this data is. It is very powerful. I think sometimes people downplay what types of insights that you can get out of this, how it plugs into your normal data stack. It's not just seen as an afterthought. Um, and I think those are the two things that I really want people to get out of me. How can you get it to that level within your organization? Um, because that's always very difficult. You chat to any analyst in the industry, it's always, nah, it's very difficult. You talk to teams in terms of how do they implement it. It's also very difficult. They do it wrong, and then it never gets traction the way you want it to get traction. So how do we navigate that space is one of the big things. What am I looking forward to? It's again sharing that knowledge, the journey we've walked, how we've had those difficulties, of whether it's getting it recognized, that it's actually the insight that you get, it can actually change an organization. And yeah, that's what I'm really looking forward to.
That's amazing. One of the things that Matt always talked about was changing the mindset of that the digital analytics team is not a cost center, is a actual money generating unit that you're investing in to make money off the end of this. So it's not just, oh, we need to invest £1 million just because we need this data. It's, well, we're investing £1 million, but it's generating us 4 million.
Yes. And it's always changing, whether it's a CIO's mindset, whether it's a technical director's mindset, or your tech leads within the teams that look after these applications. How do they start seeing that data very differently? And uh, that champion program has allowed me to see how other people are doing it and also share our journey. So you can bounce off those ideas and say, maybe we position like this, maybe you do it like this, and then you share those results. Then you can actually see people's minds or eyes opening up to say, wow, I didn't know that Adobe can do this.
I remember day one at Investec, and I was like, oh, this is how you're doing it? What, do you know that you could do it this way and save so much time? And like, I didn't know you could do that. So that's amazing. So, as a champion of Adobe Analytics, what topics are you covering during this 12 months? So, is there like a specialist area that you're doing? Like, do each of the champions have like a topic that they're covering?
So mainly because of the fact that it's such a global project or program. We meet quarterly. So with Summit coming up in Vegas, uh, in that there's no specific area that you cover. The people in the program are so it's different types of individuals that you'll see. So some of them are very good implementers. Some of them are very good analytics people. So within office space, um, maybe if there's something that you're really passionate about that you want touch on. You can go in and talk about it within office hours. What my biggest thing is about how to get your data standardized. I think that for me is a big thing because obviously once your data is not in a good state where people can trust it and actually use it, you will struggle. And that's the part that people don't talk about within the industry. If your data is not proper, yes, it can be good in one application, but if it's not good in the next application, you're as good as you're starting from zero. Because once you share an insight and someone picks it up that this is wrong, you starting back, people lose confidence in the data. So for me, it's around the implementation, how you can get it, how you can standardize it, how your technical teams can actually leverage the different options out there. So the days of the spec sheet where you used to send spec sheets, the industry sort of moved. How can you integrate AI into the space? How can you integrate MCP servers onto your implementation solutions to make it way easier for you? So it's topics like that. And again, I'm a big lover of personalization. I love it. I'm just a bit sad that they don't have a Adobe Target Champion program. But how you can actually use the tool to run very, very personalized experiences. That's one of my other biggest topics that I tend to talk about when I'm given the opportunity. Within South Africa, there's not a lot of, so what you have is industry or market champions, if you want to call it that. Um, People who look after markets. So in South Africa, we there's quite a number of organizations that use Adobe, but your job sort of becomes bringing them together, bringing them into a room, and educating them around how to use how to better leverage their technology stack, and bringing like-minded people in a room to share topics, to share difficulties. Because yeah, it is very hard, especially if you are looking at it as an individual. So some of my topics are around how do we get us to collaborate more.
That's really interesting because I would have thought that they would want to say, okay, you're going to be the Adobe Analytics champion, but I want you to focus on this area. So it's good to see that they are giving each of the champions the full breadth to be able to expand and look at all the different areas of Adobe Analytics.
Yes, yes. It's like that's what I also thought. Like you're gonna focus on one area, and then it's like, nah. If there's something like you will find someone who's very very good in a specific section, and he wants to share that insight, and then they're given an opportunity. So, like Summit, there's going to be some people who are going to be in some breakout sessions. They're going to cover a lot of topics around what you want to share. So the program is very, very good in that perspective.
And just in case anyone was wondering, I am drinking some of the Adobe bottle. So you did mention the Adobe Summit coming up in Las Vegas. So one of my big questions now is, I'm always the type of person who loves what do you also get from this? So do you have a free ticket to Vegas as a Adobe Analytics champion?
I don't know if that's in my NDA, but I think I can. I'll tell you that. Yeah, you're given a free ticket. You're given a free ticket. But this is stuff that obviously you is there. Your certifications, the exams are covered. Your tickets are covered, and you get a lot of swag. So the swag is quite cool. In fact, I should have prawned my swag for this show.
Interesting enough, I got this Adobe Analytics bottle, not at an Adobe conference,
Oh, where did you get it? Where did you get it?
at Measure Camp.
Oh wow, 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 wow. Yeah, you get a lot. In fact, in the office, I've got my scarf that I always leave the Adobe Analytics scarf. You get a hockey jersey, so you get quite a lot. In the next show, I'll actually maybe unbox some of the swag for you guys, and then people can see. So it's quite cool. The only difference is that obviously South Africa is quite far to the rest of the champions. so we don't really get to meet up. But I believe in the UK, people do meet up quite often. In the States, they do meet up quite often. Just I think there's one from South Africa, and then I think there's one from APAC as well. We're the ones who are quite further, so it's a bit challenging from that perspective.
Understood. Well, what advice would you give to someone considering applying to become an Adobe Analytics champion?
Just do it. Just apply, 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 apply. It will come. More importantly, no, on a serious note, if you're very passionate and your story is very unique, I think a lot of people enter or they, I think I was talking to one of the other guys who was telling me, no, I just wanted the status. Um, it's not easy. It's very, 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 very hard, especially when like you said, when you become a champion, it's not easy because everything around the tool you are supposed to know. That's the mindset that people they sort of put out. Like, you're a champion, so you're supposed to know this. And it's like, no, no, no. Um, it just makes your knowledge a little bit better within the space. So if you're very passionate about analytics, about the technology, around what it can do, and where the future is going for this for the industry, definitely go for it. Go for it. You will learn so much. I think for me, it's been one of those sometimes where you're like, wow, okay, um, this is what's. I remember one of the challenges that I had was informing people around the actual eco-states. So you have to go and read about what AP is. You gotta go understand what AP is. You gotta go understand how the ECID technology works, so that you're able to tell a story. So if you're sort of doing it for um the status or the swag, nah, definitely not for you. But if you want to get something out of it, that you could use to further your career, then definitely do it. I think for me, it's been one of those where I'll always take the learnings that I've had in the last 6 or 8 months to not just analytics. How do I integrate this into the GMP platform? How do I integrate the, the technical knowledge that I have now within the Meta platform? How do you get these tools to sort of start talking to each other, which has always been a marketer's dream?
Oh, yes. So, and then in probably another 6 more months, whenever they're going to be looking for the next Adobe Analytics champions for the 2026, 2027, I'll have to go back to you and find out. Are you going to apply again?
Um, yeah, we'll find out in 6 months' time. The only thing is that it does take up a lot of your time. So you gotta give in. I think that's one of the biggest thing. I remember when they told us this, like, being a champion is not easy. You gotta put in the hours. Like, you gotta put in hours. You gotta, for example, if like now with Summit coming up in Vegas, the hours are quite odd hours for someone in EMEA and my uh, for you and myself, because obviously it's different operating hours. So if you don't get the opportunity to fly down, they are actual virtual conferences, but it's very hard. You have to put in the work, you have to sweat it
Mhm.
out, you have to give quite a lot. But what you get out, I think there's a saying that you get what you give. So if you go in with a very blind mindset, you're not going to get much. But you have to really go in and sweat it out.
Thanks for that. Now, I mentioned earlier, before the podcast started recording, that you've been able to see all these slides beforehand, except for this next slide. It's the one slide that I always save for, and something new that I wanted to do for 2026. It's called the lightning round. So there's going to be several questions, and it's going to be the first thing that comes to your mind, just very quick answers. So, what is your favorite analytics tool right now and why? And I'm going to guess it's
Favorite
not GA4.
I'm running behind in that front. I won't lie. It's definitely Adobe. The reason why is because I'm learning so much that I didn't know about it before. So the some types of insights that I'm able to pull out now are like they're like changing the way I see marketing in general. Um so the way I'm using it versus how I was using it 2 years ago, not that there was anything wrong with it. Um to to finding out it's definitely I would say Adobe Analytics. In fact, it's where I spend most of my time. Yeah, it's where I spend most of my time getting insight. That's where I craft my ideas. I'm a big creative at heart, so I spend a lot of time daydreaming around campaigns, what we can do. So I always start with the data, and then I craft the data and pitch the idea, and then conceptualize it, and etc.
Amazing. It's one of those that was the softball question. It was nice and easy. But if you could only track one KPI forever, which one would you pick? The only one.
One KPI forever. One KPI forever. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. Um, one KPI. One KPI. So mainly because of my role that I have now, I'm less, I'm more, it's more broader within the digital ecosystem. And it also touches on a lot of offline sales. So I think I spent a lot of time within the digital space, and we used to speak in isolation until I'd really understood what business was looking for. And at the end of the day, business is looking for sales. They are looking for sales.
Yes.
If it's not anything about money, so the actual conversion, the actual sell, um, it's what your benchmark is. So we as marketers sometimes we are very guilty of this way. We look at the vanity metrics within the digital space in isolation to what the business is actually facing. So we went and got all these people, but the sales are actually still low. So you have to be able to swallow your pride and actually look at the number, which is the sales number, because that will never lie.
Yeah, I mean, I always love this one just because I remember people saying, "So what's your key KPI?" I was like, "Well, KPI means your key performance indicator." So now you're saying your key performance indicator. The K does not mean 1,000, even though you do get 1,000 events.
No, true. True, 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 true.
Yep. So Adobe Analytics Legacy, prop EVAR events. Love it, hate it, or tolerate it.
Hmm. Ah, love it, hate it, or tolerate it. I'll be very honest. Um, I would, I hate it. I hate it because it just complicates the game. It complicates the game. It just complicates the game. Here we are trying to get people to consume this data, and now I need to go and explain what an event is or what a prop is, and when to use a prop, when to use an event, when to use an EVA. So it's harder. I think for me and you, it's a bit easier. But for someone, an analyst who's starting out, and then you're like, I've got an event, I've got an EVA, I want a prop. Which one do I use? And then the data just starts to become different. So I hate it. I hate it for that one specific reason.
I remember there was a stakeholder I work with that this guy, and I sent out a survey just to get an idea of what people thought about Adobe Analytics. And like Adobe Analytics is like having a Lamborghini engine, but in a little Ford car. It has all this great power, but I'm not using anywhere near the performance it could actually do.
Yeah, no, true, 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 true.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's. I guess it's so complex, right? Like you're saying, the engine is so good. You can tune it up to a point, but again, like we were talking earlier, that is it what's fit for purpose within that tool. There's some of these functions that shouldn't be in Adobe that I'm very vocal about, that this function shouldn't definitely be in Adobe because of the complexities that it fits, or it serves up in the longer game. So yeah, having things like events, evas, props, when do you use it, when don't you use it? I wish they could just maybe make it a bit easier, have a consistent way, or choose one that people could use. Yes, and I understand why they've gone down that route, but also the industry has also evolved to where they started and where they are. Again, it becomes difficult to say what, because at the end of the day, where analytics is now is people want that data. They want to use it, whether it's for propensity models or whether it's for ML models and etc. When you now extract that data out of your warehouse, it becomes a nightmare. When do you use a prop? When do you use an event? When do you use an event? So it just becomes very messy.
Yep. So what's one metric people obsess about, but really shouldn't?
I had this one on Monday and Tuesday, and I remember I could see the anger in his eyes when I was having this conversation with one of my colleagues, and we were talking about it. One that I'm very, very, very passionate about is, and I think it confuses a lot of people, is occurrences. And because it just tells, if you don't know what it means, number one, you are going to struggle, and a lot of people go there, and they throw it in there, and they're like, they build segments out of it, and you're like, you do understand what this means, right? And then you start having a lot of, because it's vanity metrics, so occurrences tied to sessions as well, visits. I think those are vanity metrics. They don't tell you the actual underlying problem within your, or the insight that you could get out of there. So yes, like we spoke about at the beginning, that the industry has moved. It's moved so fast, but some people are still stuck in that phase, and it's making it very difficult for them to actually understand that it's no longer about the hits or the occurrence or the actual session. It's now about the individual. What is the individual doing? What is he telling you about you? Then once you are able to go down that route and let go of those old metrics, you will definitely get more insight out.
Amazing. So, dashboards, dark mode or light mode?
I'm an old school guy. Light mode. I think Andrew, you know me. I'm a light mode.
You know
I'm
me.
definitely. Yeah, I know you. I remember the first time I saw you, like you had your dark mode on, and I'm like, Andrew, are you reading that? And you're like, no, I can see better. So I always, and I can tell you where it comes from. For me, it comes from back in the days, when maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we used to be able to print out these those Adobe reports. Printing out was such a big thing because I remember the agency would have these reports that are printed out, would stick them onto the wall. So I've always kept that in my head, that this report got to be printable. Even though no one prints any Adobe reports anymore. So doing it in a dark mode, I'm like thinking ink, ink, ink. Oh, well, yeah, nice question.
Yep. So, attribution model. Which one do you trust the most?
Definitely, first touch, definitely.
Nice. What's your go-to method for spotting anomalies?
Hmm, go-to method. Um, I'm an old school guy, so I always like to use the old types of graphs, your line graphs and your. I mean, as soon as I see a spike, I know that something is up. So I spend a lot. All my graphs have always been. I'm a very detailed old school guy that will go in and then look at the inside and then start looking at my tables, and then I'm able to pick up if there's any differences in trends and stuff
Yeah. For me, it's the using report builder and just having it
that are
all
deleted.
pulling it in, looking at 90-day periods, and then setting up and just having conditional formatting, say, is it within range? Is it close to being a minimum? Is it close to being a maximum? Is it a new maximum? Is it a new minimum? And that way I could just easily see, okay, there's something I need to go look into, and that gives me the clue. I need to go check this out. So I've used this
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
times to say, hey guys, we need to go look into this. Something didn't go right.
No, no, definitely. So like with the graphs, right? Because for me, it's like I'm always dreaming about the next insight. So quick as possible, get my data in, drop it in, line graph, check it out. Okay. So I've got these thousands of workspaces. Some of them are not even complete, and I'm just looking at where can I find an anomaly? Where can I find the next biggest insight? Sometimes you never, which is fine.
Now, for this next question, you cannot talk about what's coming out in a couple months, but if you had unlimited budget and leverage, what one Adobe Analytics upgrade or feature would you make first?
Hmm. The ability to take the data out and model it in a very efficient way. I think that's the biggest challenge that that I think a lot of people spend a lot of money on trying to get that data so that you are able to use it with other data sets, so your transactional data and etc. In a very in a very distributed way where people can access that data. So yes, Adobe is so cool as a company, but it operates within a larger ecostate as well. So how do you take that data out within analytics, and how do you get people to model it in a very fast way and simple, understandable way, um, and plug it into a different data set, and then you're able to get more insights out? Or how do you take that data, um, use it in other ML models and stuff? I think for me that's definitely a feature that I would encourage them to build, and use it. It will make the product very simple, because even if you look at your Googles and etc., it's very hard to get data out and use it. Very, very hard.
Yeah. For me, it's simple. It's something I've been talking about now for over a decade at this point. I want the ability to say, here's this one value. I want to be able to click on it and just export the raw data that was behind it, just so I can do some more digging on it, or to click on it, not just that one server call, but to show me all the server calls in that session, just so I can actually see the journey and understand more. How did that
Yes.
happen?
Yeah,
So,
that's a cool one. That's a cool one. That's a cool
so
one.
last question. What's the biggest myth about digital analytics you wish would disappear?
Hmm. That it's here to solve everything.
That we're the silver bullet.
It's a silver bullet. Once you do this, once you get our data, millions are coming. I think, yeah. I wish, yeah, silver bullet. Yeah, it's here to fix everything. It's not. It's actually the start of where, if you get that data right, it's the start of a journey. Um, and there's very few people who actually successfully walk that journey. And for me, if you can, yeah, get that myth out of it's here to fix us, we've done it. What's the insight? I think those are some of the keywords. What's the data telling us? And it's like, nah, it's just normal behavioral data at the end of the day, and you just need to be able to use it with other data sets in order to enrich your data. It's, yeah, by itself, it's not going to really solve your problems.
I agree. Walter, thank you so much for joining us. I just give me an opportunity. How can people reach out to you after the podcast?
Yes. So, because Andrew is a big global superstar, so you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for me, Walter Sibanda. I'm there. Please ping me directly there. My LinkedIn profile. I'll drop Andrew direct link there. I'm always happy to collaborate, hear what people are thinking about. Yeah, and I'm always happy to answer questions and chat to people and meet different analysts. I think I used to operate in this little small world where I thought I was alone, and it's good to be in the space where you get to chat and bounce ideas.
Well, thank you so much, Walter. And of course, Angel Talks is part of the Digital After Dark ecosystem. So this will be part of the Digital After Dark playlist. So if you go on there, you'll be able to find it on YouTube, you'll be able to find it on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We try to put it out as widely as possible. So, and that is it for this episode of Angel Talks. As Rocky would say, it's not about how hard you're hit, but how you keep moving forward. So keep pushing, keep learning, and remember, even in data, every champion starts by refusing to stay down. Thank you so much, Walter.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody.